welcome to Reel In Films. How are you all doing today?
Hey,
Awesome.
John.
Thanks for having
Great to
us.
be here. Yeah.
No, I'm super excited because just gonna put it out there. When Finding Her Beat was on the festival run, and I think we were still in those pandemic times. I was sitting here representing another outlet, and I got to interview you all, and I'm super excited that I'm sitting down once again, but with a different essence because this time the film will be at a theatrical release. How excited are each and one of you to have this film now in the big screens?
We're thrilled. We're absolutely thrilled.
That's
It's mind-blowing.
Big dreams going on with those big drums.
No, and talking about the drums, let's go ahead and talk about something that I'm really intrigued and interested in knowing a little bit much more details. If you guys can provide us a little bit much more. There are going to be certain screenings that there's going to be a live performance. How did that came up to be as an idea and bringing it to the audience as well when they sit down to watch the film?
Well, I think it's a no-brainer because part of the fun of like getting this film out to different communities is to also highlight the local taiko community that's in their backyard, right? So we want to bring those guys out, whoever they are, and give them an opportunity to share their work. And it just makes sense to have that live taiko component where we can. Now, of course, a lot of theaters have small lobbies or have other movies playing at the same time, so it's not possible everywhere. But whenever we can, we try to, connect with the local community taiko group and get them out in front and sort of being a part of the whole movement as well.
John, I have to share with you that I was at one of the screenings in Sonoma, and the local taiko group came and performed outside the theater, just outside in the parking lot. And they started going, and it was so amazing. And so many car alarms went off.
I imagine that happening.
It was really a happening. It was an event that was extra amplified, and all of the neighbors came out, and I don't know, the cars eventually stopped. But the neighbors from the whole neighborhood, all of a sudden I looked behind me and everybody's out on their porch listening and watching to the theater parking lot for the taiko group.
No, that's amazing. The thing is that a lot of people that if they had the chance to see it in the festivals, they already know that when they start posting in social media like, hey, this amazing documentary is going to be in theaters, they will tell their experience when they watched it. But in this case, new people will get a chance to watch it, and they will learn more about this culture, and not only learn about the culture, but learn about that no matter what gender you are, you can make it. And I think that's the main thing that this documentary brings. Now, going back to when you guys started filming and everything, it was all during not during, yeah, technically speaking, it was during and then while pandemic times. So can you Don and Carrie, and then our stars, can you guys give us a little bit much more insight on how that experience was while filming, and then having this kind of stop due to what happened a few years back?
Well, I was going to leave it to Carrie because she's been the rock star behind the camera here. Go, Carrie, go.
One of the things is that, I think nobody really understood the full impact about what was happening out in the world. When we were in that residency, we were with one another and living with each other. And, when there was any free time at all, I was downloading my media, and I certainly wasn't listening to the news. And so I really had very little idea about what was truly going on out there. But the understanding did creep in. And as you see in the film, there is some concern, and people are noticing that everybody's not necessarily, everything is not all well in the world. And there was some question and a cliffhanger for everybody in the performance about, were we going to be able to move forward? But at the same time, I don't think we knew enough to really be skeptical enough as we maybe could have, or it would have been good, because it was so early on. I mean, on one of the day that the final performance happened, I think was one of the first deaths in America. And so we wrapped production March 2nd, and the whole world shut down basically the next week. And so we were really lucky, and we knew we were lucky, but we also didn't really understand the full picture until later.
And, and as that rolled into post-production, it became, I don't want to say a blessing. I mean, like, nobody wants a pandemic. That's not a thing, but it gave us this unique space to really dig in, like when the other work wasn't there. I mean, Carrie does a lot of filming, and there was a window there where Carrie couldn't film much of anything. And so to be able to, really have that time dedicated to the edit and being immersed in it. The other thing that I thought was really interesting was that we did our sound design, our, the compositions, all of those kind of late post things were done over Zoom for the most part. And so our composer was based in Australia, and I actually just worked with her on something else a couple days ago. And I was like, I forgot how great it was that I would send her a thing and then wake up the next morning and it was done, because they were the opposite time of the year or time of the day. So like her work day and my work day were like, so it was just like constantly working. And it's I don't know, I think that the pandemic had a lot of concerns about the storyline. I mean, there's just so many things we could talk about in terms of the pandemic, but I think that for the edit, the timing created an opportunity to be alone. Yeah.
I did the first edit of the film, and I don't think that there would ever be another circumstance where I could have week after week of 11 and 12-hour days of concentration where that is it. I had nothing else breaking my concentration. And I think that's what you really need for editing is it's fair, once you're in the role, you're living in there, you're living inside that hard drive, and that is your entire world. And even when you're not looking at the screen, that is what's going on in your brain, is the edit and what's essential. And I only had to kind of match the cameras and then select the best shots and put together some scenes. And I handed over 8 hours of scenes to the next person. And we had 2 editors between Dawn and I, and Dawn did the final edit, and she just brought it home so beautifully. And so together it was like a relay marathon that was made much faster because of the pandemic, because we had complete focus.
How many hours did you start with in that first edit, Carrie?
I don't.
Over 200, isn't it?
Oh, I think I just seems like there must be more than that, but I don't know. But we had a lot. And then for the final performance at the Ordway Center, we had 5 filmmakers and 6 cameras on the scene.
That's amazing. How about the experience of our stars? Because throughout the documentary, you are living with it. Everybody's living together. How did it? Can you give us a little bit of like details or insight on how was the process when COVID started and how it affected all of you as the players behind the film?
I can hop in because I was a nurse at the time. And I had taken all my PTO to be part of the project. And so when the film was over, I was back on the floor, and it wasn't until like March 13th when the nurses were hearing that there were cases on neighboring units, but the hospital hadn't announced anything. So we were being sent to work without protection with those people. So it was super intense to go from this really intense residency and project and stage performance, and then bam, go right into COVID. And so that was super intense. But what was also amazing is that for me at that time, just watching the process of, we were only just getting started with the film, and though we had been filming for a year, I believe, and just like, you don't start out with millions of dollars, you just go from thing to thing until you make another 10,000, and then you do the next thing and make another, I don't know, 8,000. And so in my mind, we had run out, and then COVID hit, and there was just a sense of the world shutting down. And I was convinced that I told myself, well, we did our best. We got it recorded, and now it's dead. The film is dead. And at least we made it. We pulled off the event. And then I think I believed that for a while, until the first edit came from Don and Carrie, and I was like, wait, what's this? There's an edit? There's a film? So it was just a super intense, like, epic time.
So going to the playing aspect of the drums, Megan, Jennifer, do you still play live on your free time, or is it something that you have taken up on as a full-time thing?
Yeah, we're both of us are full timers. We're a Tycho family, 1,000%. Yeah, we're just, in some ways, this project was the largest project of my career. And then when the pandemic hit, I went into, honestly, a deep depression. And then now coming out of that, I feel like this is just the beginning. Like, I just feel like this just keeps growing and building momentum, not only for the art, but for what's possible, for what the difference you can make in the world, and just sort of like, it's so, it's like manifesting. But that idea of, when you have a great idea, if you say it out loud, it starts to gain its own legs. It starts to like build its own momentum, because a good idea, people can feel it and they respond to it in a very visceral way, and you start to build kind of this momentum behind it. And I feel like doing what we did for this film and for this concert, and for Tycho, is something that I feel like suddenly I'm like, oh, I can do this again. Not the same exact project, but like the power that a good idea and a good team of people can like accomplish is quite miraculous. So it's been very empowering and healing to me, this film, and the whole process of people seeing it and receiving it and responding to it has been very healing, and then very empowering in that way of like, okay, all right, we accomplished the impossible. Now, ... What's next? I can't wait. Like, I just feel like that energy of we really can make it ourselves. We can build it as we go. We can, as Don says, we don't have to ask for permission anymore. We just have to get out there and have the right answer for the right problem.
And I gotta say that
Uh-huh.
that when Jen and I were doing Heartbeat, the whole thing, Jen was a financial analyst for a corporate company, and I was a nurse. So we were not doing Tycho 100% of the time then. And I think because of I was I was in the spectrum of having quit Tycho. So that we've both quit our other jobs completely, and we're only doing Tycho now. We're building a international Tycho center in the Midwest, and bought a building and going gangbusters. And I think that's because of the film. I think the film was a calling not only to our audience, but to the artists that it's time. And I think personally, the pandemic too had this effect on a lot of people I know. Who are you being? Who are you showing up as? And how are you living your life? Are you being the true you? And the film, I think, grabbed me by the feet and pulled me around and said, this is your life. And I even said, I said, oh my God, if I could just do Taiko full time, that's my dream. And I was like, yeah, right. But here we are. So very powerful project.
That's the amazing thing, you know. It's great because whoever sits down and sees the first time that we all got to speak together, we were talking about the film being in multiple festivals, and now we're talking about theatrical release, and that you are doing Taiko full time. You know, it's a big change from then until now, and that's a great evolution in all, because your dreams are coming true. And that's, I think that Finding Her Beat brings so much to the table, and I do want everybody in the world to get to sit down and follow their dreams, because this is one of the main things that this film brings as well, in the vast multiple topics that the film has. So going back to the film, can each one of you provide me a memory that you all take to heart, now that it's been so long since the film was in festivals, now going to be available in theaters? What is a fond memory that you guys take every day and just sit down and always go back to it?
Well, I would say this new family that emerged from this film, and that because of social media, I still get to see this amazing family even across the pond in Japan, and that it has brought an amazing richness of new friendships and new understanding to my life. And we have our first premiere in Japan, and we are all going together, and it is going to be like the first time that we're going to be able to really dive even deeper with one another and get to know each other even better, because I'm not going to be lugging a big camera, just a little one.
And I'm
You
the only
can't
one
go
who
without a
speaks
camera,
Japanese.
can you? Oh, that's great. No, and I actually have a similar feeling in the sense that, like, there are so many moments along the way that I can think about, the moment I cried during an edit because all of a sudden it was working. The moment we screened at Mill Valley and the standing ovation, and then everybody leaves the theater and there's this huge Taiko performance in the park, and people who weren't at the screening are like, what is this? And it was like the Pied Piper on steroids, and I just feel like that is how this has been throughout. And so there isn't a single like behind the scenesy moment. It's all these like big coming together moments, and the little ones too. We have weekly meetings, and I'm like, if we ever become done with distribution, which now I'm starting to wonder, if we do, I still want these weekly meetings, because this powerful core of creators, it's given me so much more. And so I don't know, yeah, that's me. Jen, Megan.
Oh, I have a couple of moments. One was at a Asian American Film Festival, and this young person stood up and said, I'm in grad school, I'm an artist, I'm an adoptee. What's your advice for an adoptee in the arts? And in that moment, I was so shocked that someone would be looking to me for advice. And just sort of that idea that, oh, there are younger people out there who actually I do have something to offer or share. And that also, anytime, I would say like my experience growing up was as an adoptee, was just never seeing my a sense of myself reflected anywhere in media ever. Being queer, being Asian, being an artist, all of those things I just never saw reflected back at me, and that I could even be one little bit of that for somebody else was like huge. So for me, I find that like oftentimes adult adoptees will come up to me after a screening and really feel that they've been seen. And I think that's stunning.
I guess I don't have a past moment, but I have this moment that won't let me go. And it started during the project and during the performance and the filming, which is something about no one does a great thing. We can only do small things with great love. And if I show up, I just like, this has me in its grip since the film. When I show up as I am and do the next right thing, and am visible and honor and value who I am, then there's power and there's support. And when I'm exhausted from that small thing with great love, I show up for the next one. And to other people, it looks like we've done a great thing. All the little things turn into something that's great. And I feel that's incredibly powerful. And I feel that that's true. I think that's a truth. Like if I have a physics lesson about life right now, that's a truth about creativity and collaborative effort for me. And like it keeps pulling me to the next thing, we're going to do this next, we're going to do this next. It's okay if you make mistakes. I mean, no one likes to make mistakes, but just you keep showing up and doing something for the greater good. And it's incredibly powerful, and it keeps dragging me along and sailing me along. And I never want it to end. And I've been saying that for years about this project.
That's amazing words from each and one of you. So I wanted to ask around the board once again. I want to know how you all got the news that you're moving Finding Heartbeat to theaters. I think that had to be an experience for each and one of you. So how was it?
You know, I would say it was less about the news and more about the will. Like, I think we all got together and we're saying, okay, the industry is such that there's no one that we can wait for that's going to scoop down and kind of like choose us, you know, that we're going to have to, if we think if we think it's worth it, if we think that what we have to say has value and impact and that, you know, deserves to be seen, we are going to make it happen ourselves. And it's going to take a lot. And so I think this group got together and kind of made that decision of like, you know, 40 plus festivals, all these rave reviews, all these deep connecting moments that we've had with people through this film. Are we good? Is that like a great place to hang our hat? Or are we ready to say like, no, let's take this as far as we can go and push? And I think I feel like it was this collective determination to not sort of go silently into the night, that we wanted to push forward. And I think it was partly me, a little bit of stubbornness, is that when sort of the larger, more resourced algorithms or opinions say like, you're too niche, you're not mainstream enough, that I really like, that just kind of fires me up and gets me going in that way of like, really, who are you to say this? You know, who are you to determine this? And we have lots of experience that says differently. So I feel like it was sort of a doubling down that we all kind of did together as a team to say like, we're in it and we're going to keep going as far as we can.
That's amazing. So I would have one final question for each and one of you. Just how would you describe Finding Heartbeat with one word? Like that, whoever's watching this interview of my audience can have that experience when they sit down to watch it in theaters?
Only one?
One word.
You're
My
killing
one-
me.
Killing me?
No, he's killing me with this question.
I would say my one word is cathartic.
Joy.
Empowerment.
Bold. Ooh. Say that again, Carrie.
Empowerment.
Ah, I'm gonna go off the back of that and say embolden.
Amazing. Yes, I agree with all of those one word statements from this film. And just to before I say our goodbyes, I want to let all of my viewers know Finding Her Beat will have a theatrical release starting on September 26th. That will be very close in Vancouver, Canada. Before launching his USA theatrical release that will start in October, and it's going to be in many places. And like our stars and our filmmakers here have mentioned, some of them might have Taiko players in the screener. So I hope that everybody goes ahead and enjoys this film when they sit down to watch it. And thank you all for each one of you to give me the time to speak once again about Finding Her Beat.
Oh, you're so awesome, John. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
No,
Hey,
thank
can I
you
add?
all.
Can I add that anybody who goes to these big screens is going to get the full blast of Soundwalker sound in the big screen. So you may not have had that at a festival, but you're going to get that on the big screen.
That is completely true. So thank you all of you for giving me the time to talk about the film once again, and see you in the next one.